And look at that. We're live for Conference Championship Weekend here on NFL Playoff Preview. I almost said Fantasy Football Preview. It's not that anymore. It's not that right now. That's been over for a while.
I don't know the name of the show. Is that the name?
NFL Playoff Preview? Yeah, that's what I went with. You don't even check the YouTube page, Mark, where we are. Where our
I'm
video.
on it. I don't have to check. I'm on it. They have to check me.
He has people to check for him. So.
Oh man. Big. Well, we're down to the Final Four of football. So this is it. We got this weekend some Pro Bowl happening, and then the Super Bowl, and this is it. So I don't know. Are you guys a little sad to see the season come to what seems like an abrupt halt?
Yeah.
Always. Oh, it's always sad. It's always so sad. It's the day after the Super Bowl is when it sinks in for me. It's like Monday, back to work. Everyone's back to work, and then it's like, oh no football. We're done for so long.
Well, the thing is I gotta be actually thankful for fantasy football because to me, I'm the most sad during the NFL season when I get eliminated from my championship. Like if I don't make the playoffs, okay, that's the biggest hit for me. Then it's like, well, if my team still makes the playoffs, like the Steelers, I'm okay. But then as soon as they get eliminated, I really don't care. Football's dead to me. Who cares? Is it really gonna matter if the Patriots win the Super Bowl, Max?
I thought you were really upset by the blowout Super Bowl last year. You're like, I get really excited for the Super Bowl. I want a really competitive game. I thought you really cared, and then you were angry that it was such a blowout.
You know what? Last year was actually the one year I kind of cared because I like Peyton
Manning.
Why?
Can I tell you why? Because we did this show. That's why you cared.
Yeah.
You were following the games, and we were talking about them, and you were invested somewhat. But I completely agree with you.
I hate football. I just like having people to talk to once a week.
Okay. That's what we're here for. A mini support group for the 3 people that watch. So thank you all for listening to us banter every week.
Appreciate it.
So, oh man, I guess that we can just dive into the games. Actually, no. First, I do want to look back.
Oh boy.
At least one game that I wanted to get to, but before we get to the game that I wanted to talk about, I pulled up a little definition here that I want to read off of Google.
Wow.
Wow. Word, should I screen share? Should I screen share? A little bit, but so the word of the day, my friends, is karma. Karma, karma, and the definition, according to Google, is the sum of a person's actions in this and previous states of existence, viewed as deciding their fate in future existences. Informally, it's defined as destiny or fate following as effect from cause. So basically, what goes around comes around, and that's sort of what we saw in Green Bay.
The Denver game. Green
Bay. Green Bay.
I'm not following you there for a second.
You gotta get with us, Seth.
Yeah, where are you going with this?
So, I don't know if you guys remember this far back, but 2 weeks ago, there was a late penalty in the fourth quarter of the Lions and Cowboys game that resulted in the ball basically getting handed to the Cowboys, who then drove down the field for 8 minutes, ran the clock out essentially, and scored the game winner. This week, with very little time left on the clock, the Cowboys driving and looking to take the lead in Green Bay, a game that I don't know. I thought it was going to be a blowout, and it ended up being way closer than anyone anticipated in my mind. But there was a play towards the end where Des Bryant grabbed the ball, held onto the ball, fell to the ground, got tackled very close to the goal line. The ball the tip of the ball touched the ground, came a little bit loose. He rolled in, and it was called a catch. But after review, the play went to review, and it got overturned. It was a 4th down play, so the ball went to Green Bay, who then could run out the clock, and the Packers won. So that is, in football terms, karma.
I have a question.
Yes.
Yes.
I have 2 points to make. The first one, by you calling it karma, you're basically saying that you thought it was a catch, that it was rightfully a catch and it was taken away from them.
No.
By that line of reasoning, because Detroit lost because of an unfair call, So if you're saying karma was served to Dallas, you're basically saying like a bad call went against them.
Correct. I hate that rule. I really do.
Yeah.
So
It's a
it-
stupid rule. We
Which
can
brings me
all
to my
agree.
second point. I too came up with a prepared bit that involves looking something up on the internet, and I will proceed to do so now.
go.
Excuse me for a moment while I look at the definition of a catch as written by the NFL on the internet. Does not exist.
That's not
No one knows what a catch is.
So, I mean, the question is, do you think that rule gets changed in this offseason?
To what? They don't know.
No,
Nobody knows.
absolutely not.
You don't think so?
No,
No,
I mean,
They've been pretty consistent. This is the Calvin Johnson, Bert Emanuel, whatever you want to
Right.
call it.
But I think they change. I mean, they change rules all the time. I think this is a rule that is likely to be
They
changed
do.
because of all this.
They do. They'll look at it. I don't know that anything gets done.
because
And
he caught it and
exactly-
flipped over. I mean,
Exactly, but because of what Mark said, is that this literally is one of the most consistent rules that
Well,
they follow.
well, maybe let me restate that. They consistently, like this specific call has happened before. They don't call catches consistently. Never.
No,
No one
they
knows what a
call-
catch is.
They call catch it, but every time you see a play like this go under the hood, it ends up getting called an incomplete pass
okay.
consistently. So I mean, at the very least, this is if the NFL is consistent with anything, they're consistent with this. Using the ground to
This
assist
is
the
a tricky
catcher, the
one.
ground causing an incomplete pass.
Nah, they don't always because the ball can touch the ground as long as it doesn't help in
Or
aiding
get jarred
possession.
loose. You have to maintain. It's the whole maintaining possession thing.
But
That's
nobody
what,
knows what that means either. Like
No.
that can mean anything. Like the ball can like spin around or something. Like it's
The
just
worst
all
the
judgment.
worst term is football move. That's the term that messes everything up.
And that's
because-
actually what I want to get into because like, for the most part, people said it wasn't a catch. Like that was, I would say, like the majority opinion, maybe like 70-30 or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that clear cut. And I agree that in real time it should have been called incomplete, but how can you lunge for the end zone with the ball in your hand and not have possession? Like how can you
Right.
manipulate the ball in a controlled manner without possession of the
Like,
ball?
I
It's
mean,
not like
so
he
true.
batted it into the end zone. He
Yeah.
like curled and reached.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most people agree that it was a good call, but it's a stupid rule. I think we can all agree on that.
Well, there's another issue though. Is it really a good call? Is that overwhelming evidence to overturn? Because they didn't. It's not like they upheld an incompletion. They overturned it from complete to incomplete. Is that conclusive evidence?
Yeah.
And also, how
based
can
on
you
the
have
rule.
how can you have conclusive evidence on a judgment call when you can't have like a challenge on pass interference, which is defined in a similar manner?
I mean,
like-
they're all judgment calls. I always thought that was stupid that you
Yeah.
couldn't challenge those.
You see
kind
what I
of
mean?
things.
It's not like they were checking to see if his feet were in bounds or if like the ball was in bounds or something like that. Like they had to make a determination on whether or not they thought he made a football move, which they basically said that he did by concluding it was a catch. But how can they go and replay and determine that it wasn't a football move?
Because replay they can slow it down and watch it several times.
But it's a
rather than
judgment
just-
call.
Yeah.
Yeah, but rather than in an instant having to make a call.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Well, the point I'm trying to make is like, how come that's challengeable and something like pass interference isn't when it's like a similar concept?
I would
if
also be in
any-
favor of expansion of pass interference replay and also helmet-to-helmet replay. I would
of
love to see some replay.
everything we've talked about here. I think what's most likely to happen is that the penalties, certain penalties. I don't think they go with all of them like a sweeping change there, but I think that they make some incremental change where certain penalties are able to be challenged, namely like a pass interference. Like I think that Lions and Cowboys game last week, you could have seen a flag. In the future, you'll have plays where something like that happens and a coach is able to challenge it.
Now, but
see,
one thing they
the
could
thing
do.
with that. The thing with that, though, is, I mean, like, I think I made this argument before. You could call holding on every single play in the NFL. Like, the reason why they don't do that is because they don't want to completely and utterly legislate out holding, but it's just because they don't want to punish. I mean, like, literally, every single team could be called in every single play. So,
That's why I think it's only going to be certain penalties. I don't think holding would ever be included in that kind of thing where you could
But then
challenge.
people ask for holding to be challengeable. Like
It's like baseball.
You gotta draw the
Think of
line
it like
somewhere, I
baseball.
guess.
You can't challenge balls and strikes.
Right.
and I think they're at least the way that they think is a majority of the time a catch can be ruled, whether it is a catch or whether it isn't a catch. There are a few times that it's gray, but with a pass interference call, the majority of the time it's a judgment call rather than, like I said, with an actual action that you completed. This is the isolated event. Like if you want to see somebody really getting hosed, look at back in the NFL. I think it was like 2004, 2005. Whenever the Pittsburgh Steelers played the Indianapolis Colts, and Troy Polamalu had a clear interception, caught the ball, rolled over, was getting up to run, and then because he didn't make a football move, they considered an incomplete pass.
I remember that.
Well, that's the same concept. You have to argue then that the Bryant catch should have been incompletion then.
What's that?
It's the same concept though. Then you would have to agree then if you thought that was an interception, you have to think this is a completion.
So which was an interception?
The Des Bryant, the Polamalu interception that was famously overturned.
He caught the ball, like spinned over on his back. The ball did not hit the ground whatsoever.
What's going on over there? Is there a game we're missing?
They're cheering me. They agree with me.
I just don't understand how you can overturn like something that's in the gray area. If it's that iffy, how is there enough evidence to overturn it?
Because they got to look at it for more than one time.
But it doesn't.
So the first
it doesn't
time,
hit the burden of proof to get it overturned. It has to be conclusive.
So the
like
first
you need
time,
conclusive evidence to overturn.
So the first time they called it a completion with very little information. It was a judgment. It was a reaction, like an instant reaction. Then they got to look at it a little bit more. They got to make a more appropriate decision. And they overturned it.
That's not how replay works. Replay has to be overwhelming in visual evidence.
That's not how replay. That's not how replay used to work. That's how replay is now. Like, you've seen horrible calls on the field, like touchdowns that weren't even touchdowns or catches that weren't even catches, and they just call it just to be safe. They'll call it a touchdown because they know they can go back and review it.
Yeah, because those are clear cut. Like you have a knee, like the knee's down or the knee's not down. Like there's going to be clear visual evidence. There's no clear visual evidence on a judgment call. Well, I think we're not
the NFL committee on officiating and rules, so we're not going to come up to. If we can't reach a decision, I can't imagine how. Well, no, we're not the Let's let the professionals handle it over the summer after the season. So
what's the final tally here? Like, who thinks it should have been overturned and who thinks it should have been upheld?
I think it's crappy that it was overturned.
Upheld. I want upheld. Is it 3-1?
Sounds that way.
Everyone thinks
it's the call. This is the correct call.
So 2 versus 2. The same 2 versus the same 2.
But I agree it's a correct call too, but that's not the argument. The argument is, was there enough to overturn it?
I don't think.
Yes.
I don't think there was.
Yes.
The ball hit the ground. He didn't catch it. Then he reestablished possession after it hit the ground.
Yeah.
What I saw is he took 3 steps, made something that could be interpreted as a football move, and then the ball hit the ground.
Are we talking about the one where he was down on the 1 yard line?
Yeah.
Yes.
The last call of the game. Not the last play of the game. The last Dallas play of the game.
He trapped the ball on the ground.
Right.
He used the ball.
And then the ball bounces. It's like he does not have it, and then he
I'm just so confused because as soon as I saw that, I was like, "What's the controversy about?"
I'm gonna put the final word in only because I can, and when going to the ground. What's up?
Just a quick thing. It's so funny when Dez is like in the locker room. He's like, "Never seen that before. Have you ever seen that before?" He's like, "Yes, we've seen that before, Dez. Yeah, we watch a lot of football. This happens often."
Quite frequently. The reason that I, as a Philadelphia fan, feel safe saying that it was a catch, or at least not enough to overturn, is because the way he is holding the ball as he's diving and extending his arm is the way someone holds the ball when they're running with possession of the ball.
Wait, you're agreeing with me?
He has it. What's up?
You're agreeing with me?
Yes, that's what I said. It's 2
too.
So it's the way he is holding the ball. It's as if he is running with the ball with possession, and his hand. It was basically like making a one-handed catch. Consider that one-handed catch and turning it in. He had the ball in that position, and as he's diving to the ground, the back tip of the ball is what hits the ground. The that like bulges out of his arm, hits the ground, and he bobbles it. So I am under this assumption that he had possession.
All right, and I'll clarify in saying I think it's an incomplete pass, but once you call it complete, there's not enough to overturn it.
Yeah.
So Rob thinks it was a completed pass.
I do.
And on the field should say completed. You think it was an incompleted pass, but because it was called completed on the field,
there's not enough evidence to overturn.
It's not enough evidence to turn off. And me and Max just agree with you being it's an incompleted pass, and he made the right decision.
This is something. This is something.
Well, we accomplished basically nothing then.
Too much. So,
hey, who's 6-2? That's all I want to say. Okay. Go ahead, John Wall, baby.
All right. So, that brings us to this weekend, and since we're so hotly talking about the NFC, let's stay there. And that is the first game of the weekend. 3:05 on Fox Sunday. NFL football, you have the Green Bay Packers taking a limping Aaron Rodgers into Seattle to take on the Seahawks in a rematch of what was opening weekend this weekend and also opening weekend, 2 years ago with the replacement refs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
and on that note, real quick, before getting into this, I don't know if you guys saw this the other day. The Lance Easley piece on ESPN.
No.
Yeah, he needs to get over himself.
What's up?
He needs to get over himself.
It might be that, but just to give some context, there was an article on ESPN yesterday or 2 days ago where Easley's talking about that moment in making that call and how now not all of a sudden, but in the 2 years since, he's been suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder.
No way.
Depression. That moment. That's not obviously nothing to laugh about, but those disorders. But it's just crazy that to think that a little over a year ago now, at this point, 2 years ago, that happened, and the ref that made the call is still hurting from it.
I say anyone that claims post-traumatic stress disorder without actually some sort of substance should be shipped over to Afghanistan or Iraq and let them serve some military duties and put them in an American Sniper type style decision. Hey, do I shoot this kid or do I let him live? And then they can really say, okay, I guess I didn't have post-traumatic stress disorder for making a bad football call. I mean, come on now.
Yeah,
Hey, you ever had a football pun based on your actions?
What's that?
You ever have a football pun based on your actions? That must be hell. Fail Mary, your failure.
Fail Mary. Yeah, the football pun. I forgot, but that was called the Fail Mary.
You know what? Honestly, the worst thing I can think about in sports is I don't remember his name, but the Chicago Cubs fan.
Oh,
Brian?
Bartman.
Was it Brian?
Yeah, Steve Bartman.
Bartman.
Did he have PTSD? Because his.
No, he had to change his identity.
Yeah,
Depression.
He had death threats and stuff. So
Depression, I think.
Yeah. So okay, that could be kind of warranted. You had a whole entire country basically making fun of you, but
he
this
quit
guy
his job and move.
Huh?
He had to quit his job and move and go into hiding essentially.
I am saying I agree with this guy having it. This was a bigger deal than this replacement ref. I don't even remember. That guy had a documentary after him. Did this replacement ref have a documentary about him?
No, the replacement ref those were a huge deal in the moment, but now it's just kind of I remember that.
It's something you knew it was going to be bad, but you expected something.
Exactly.
It just happened to. It happened to be something really big on the final moment of the play of opening weekend, and it was just the spotlight was so heavy on it. It was just so tough to watch.
The problem is it wasn't one person that made a horrible decision. It was replacement refs. It was a collective group of just ineptity that was that year. And as opposed to the Chicago Cubs fan, it was one person thrusted in the media. I don't know.
Yeah, if you've ever had a substitute teacher in school, I mean, that the expectations are low on that
exactly.
day.
Well, thankfully this weekend we don't have substitute teachers or refs, I guess in this case. But so I don't know what's yeah right. What's the I try to find them any way I can.
Getting good.
What can we say? 18 weeks in, you got to get something to improve somewhere. So what do we think about this game?
I don't.
Does limp Aaron Rodgers, can he go into Seattle
Doesn't
and
this seem
be
suspicious?
effective?
This is a tough
Mm.
game.
Seattle is
Toughest
heavily
game.
favored. They're favored by 7.5, and everyone just assumes they're going to win.
Yeah.
And actually, I do too, so I'm worried about that.
Yeah.
See, that's the
tough.
thing. I kind of feel like, despite that stat, Mark, I kind of feel like Seattle was a little bit of an underdog. Like, like they were so dominant last year. Then they came in, destroyed a super hot start at the beginning of the year. Then they kind of lost some weird, fluky games like middle on in the year. And then now all of a sudden, like they're in the playoffs again. No one was real excited about them against Carolina. People thought the Carolina Panthers were going to beat them. Like, how can you not be an underdog if you thought some people thought the Carolina Panthers were going to beat you at home?
They were favored by 2 touchdowns almost.
What?
Okay. Well, two people
yeah.
here
Well,
predicted them,
Vegas.
but I don't know why.
By Vegas.
That's true. Who picked them?
None. We all
None
picked
of us
Seattle.
picked them. That's right.
Yeah,
none of us
no.
picked. We all picked Seattle. So.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
You guys wanted to pick them. Okay, there was an
I did.
actual debate on this show about
Hey, well,
picking the Carolina Panthers.
That's just banner. We have to fill a couple minutes every once in a while. The show will be over in 10 minutes.
I don't know
Without
what
that kind of stuff.
I don't know what happened mid-season in Seattle, why they got in that little slump, but they're a great team. They've got a great offense. They've got a great defense. So I'm going to go with Seattle,
They're
definitely.
incredible. Cam Chancellor was injured for a little bit, I believe, this season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine.
He didn't start the year, right? Or was he hurt in the middle of the year?
I think he was hurt in the middle.
Middle of the year.
But he is underrated because Sherman is so loud and popular.
People
Cam
lose
Chancellor
sight.
is then underrated. Cam
Oh,
Chancellor is incredible.
We talk about him jumping over the field goal line almost three
Twice,
times.
3 times? Like, it's so good. Like, it's so funny. Like, oh, he's not going to get away with that again. And then he did it again. It's like,
Their
oh,
long
he's not
snapper
gonna get
must
away with
suck.
that again. Like, it's ridiculous. So crazy.
Oh, ridiculous. But this also, don't forget, this is I know it was a different Green Bay team, but these two met week 1 this year. It was what was a 20-point blowout in Seattle. Rodgers, their offense is basically the same. They weren't missing anyone. They weren't really, without certain weapons. Rodgers was healthier. They were just in sort of like an early season funk. So I don't know what. Obviously, they turned it on at the end of the year and were, putting up 40 here, 40 there. But that also is, that was the team in Lambeau. So on the road, they've sort of been a little bit different team. I remember they went in around the middle of the year, and didn't they struggle and lose down in New Orleans
Mhm.
We got
earlier
destroyed.
this year? They had some really, really weird losses to teams that, either weren't good or historically with Detroit that they're dominant against. So this is it's not. They feel like they want to be the dominant Packers that went on that Super Bowl run a couple years ago, but there's just something about them that I don't. The confidence isn't there. Mentioned this last week, sort of with how we were feeling about Peyton Manning. Obviously, that panned out. So not for that reason alone. Rodgers' health plays in, obviously, but it's just too much. I think.
It's impossible to be all in on a team when the quarterback is fighting an injury. It's always a wild card.
Yeah.
Very
It's difficult.
true.
I want this to be a tougher call than it is, but just on the surface, using what information we have about his health, it's tough to pick them. So I think I have to go with Seattle.
I'd love to see Green Bay win. I think that makes the more interesting Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
I agree.
So,
I would love to see Green Bay win, but I don't know. That Seahawks team just looks scary good. That's so dominant and awesome. Now it was, like you said, against Carolina Panthers, but that game was actually a little bit closer than the score suggests. I mean, there's that pick six late that kind of swung it around, and then basically Carolina just collapsed.
yeah, I know. I was watching it at the beginning, and I think like it just like 7-10 or something like that, and I was like, Carolina has a chance. Like they got a little bit of a shot here. Then there was a huge bomb to. Jeez, I'm blanking on the wide receiver. Curse.
Yeah.
And then the pick six sealed it, but
Yeah. So, but man, Seattle.
Dynasty.
I don't know. Yeah, absolutely. They look incredible.
All right, I can't bury the lead anymore. I'm going to hop in and pick Green Bay. for
Ooh.
Oh,
Hey. Ooh.
He does it. Mark's got to be different. There's something
for a couple
about
of reasons. The first reason is I'm down 2 points in this contest, and I got to make up some ground. I heard all the other picks, and now it's time to strike. I think Rodgers might be like he's obviously hurt, but I think like an extra week will make a big difference. And like clearly he can play through the pain because he played really well in the second half last week.
But he's like limping while he's doing it.
Whatever.
Yeah.
That's what the great ones do. They play through.
I don't know
Not Peyton.
I don't know what the forecast is for Seattle this weekend, but you got to consider that Lambeau was freezing, and I'm sure that calf was a little numb, and he was still limping. If it's even a little bit warmer in Seattle, and you're getting, I don't know, the conditions are just,
they got
it's not going to be this. I don't know.
They got stuff to inject in your leg that will
Oh yeah.
kill that right up. Get a little deer blood going in there.
Dear blood.
What else was I going to say? Everyone talks about the Seattle home field advantage, and if you look at their most recent playoff games in Seattle, they hadn't really been overly impressive. Last week, Carolina was able to like effectively take away the run, and they forced Wilson to beat them via the pass, which he did, but that doesn't mean that's always going to be there. You think about last year when they played New Orleans in the second round, everyone forgets how close that game was. That was like a one-touchdown game the entire way through, like one score. Then they nearly lost to San Francisco last year too, except for the like famous Sherman play like on the last drive where Kaepernick made a dumb throw. So these games have been close. It's not like they're blowing everyone away at home. And
that's true.
Yeah, this is true.
Their coach, like Carroll,
You're not high on him.
Good.
You weren't high on him last week.
Remember him in his first in the NFL? He was really not good. And sure, he went to college.
I remember him like holding
New England,
Denver the most like explosive offense last season, like putting up all kinds of crazy numbers to like 15 points, like 13, 17 points, something like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
it wasn't a lot. Let's just say that.
Right,
and the most important game of the year, he held them to like under 20 points. That's pretty good
I'm not
coaching.
convinced he's like an infallible like Belichickian tactician. Like Mike McCarthy isn't either, so that kind of cancels out. But I feel like there's a chance like he could screw up something. You don't see Seattle really play with adversity. Like they're either always like controlling the ball or like playing with the lead. Like Wilson doesn't throw dumb picks. Like what happens if like he does turn the ball over and like the tide turns early. I feel like Seattle's conditioned, especially their fans, like for everything to go right, and like they're always like in the game. What happens if you suck the crowd out? And what better quarterback than Rodgers to like kill the crowd?
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden,
I agree with you 100%. I could see that happening. Like Green Bay go up two scores or 2 touchdowns early on, take the crowd out of it, and then they have to play catch up with an offense that's not necessarily designed to it. But I mean,
a defense that can easily get them back in it.
No, I agree with all this. In fact, I'm just kind of picking Green Bay because I want to make up some ground. I guess what I'm trying to say is it shouldn't be a touchdown. Like they shouldn't be that heavily favored.
No.
I see scenarios where Green Bay could win, so I'll just take the chance that those things happen.
All right. Fair enough. So 3 for Seattle and 1 for Green Bay. Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go us. Back to terrible transitions. So, the late game.
Win them all.
No. The late game then will be, obviously, you got Indy going into New England. Colts Luck. And Colts and Andrew Luck going up against Brady and the Pats. Second time this year, 4th time in the last 3 years that they square off. I don't know. What do you think?
The Colts have finally impressed me. They've finally impressed me. They looked awesome against Denver. And also Denver looked crappy. But the Colts were impressive, but it's still not impressive enough to make me pick them over the Patriots. What the Patriots did against a supercharged offense somehow in the Baltimore Ravens, which that game was amazing, by the way. That game was
that
so
was the
good.
game of the weekend.
But the Patriots, I mean, they do what they need to do to win. Like, hey, you don't need to. We're not going to run the ball. We're going to run the ball maybe twice in the second half, and we're still going to beat you. Like it's pretty amazing what they're able to do and change their game plan. Like from week to week, it seems like they had an explosive running game towards the end of the season, and then they just abandon it in the playoff, and that's okay. Like somehow, I don't know. I cannot figure that team out, but all I know is everything they seem to do is good. So I'm going to pick the
And
Patriots.
maybe let's not forget that that you talked about that running game. The last Jonas Gray had his bust out performance. I know he hasn't seen the field really since then because he showed up. He missed his alarm one morning. But
He might be dead. I haven't even seen him.
That four touchdown game he had came against these Colts. I'm convinced that this is going to be a blowout for the Patriots, and it's all on luck. And here's why: 3 games against the Patriots, he's 0-3, 6 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, but he's lost to Brady and the Pats by an average of 26 points. Listen to these scores: 59-24 the first time they played, 42-20, and 43-22 in last year's playoffs. And every year he's basically it's all been him. He's gone for over 300 yards in every game against them, but they know the Pats are in his head. It's sort of like Manning early in his career against the Pats. He's barely completing half of his passes against them. And it's just Belichick. He knows how to scheme against an individual player and basically take away their strength or a team strength, and he's just got this team figured out. And the Patriots defense, they showed enough mettle last week at least to hold it together to keep them close enough in the game where they're in striking distance. But in this one, with no running game to worry about for Indy. And you can basically focus entirely on luck in the pass. I just don't see how that trend of losing by 20-plus points doesn't continue.
So you're going on record saying that you're going to pick against the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, limo driving, silence yet flying, kiss stealing, son of a gun. Well, I know it, Mark. I know you're with me.
What's this have to do with anything?
So why don't you give me 2 claps and a Ric Flair? Woo! Now I'm going with New England Patriots too. You'd be stupid not to.
Oh, God. All right. Well, good segue. This is all right. Before I get started with like a losing argument, which I'm gonna try to make. Don't you worry. But this is what I hate about the NFL playoffs. It makes a cynic of like the most like fervent fan. Because on one hand, like you think about what Indy did last week, and on the surface it looks really impressive. They went to Denver. They ended Peyton Manning's career. They made him look like a fool. They just blew away the Broncos, and the score didn't indicate how one-sided that game looked. But then you start thinking, like, you have time, the days pile up, and you start thinking, like, well, Manning was hurt, so how much credit did they get for that? Like, John Fox got fired. First of all, he might not be that good of a coach, and also there's discord in the locker room, so maybe that affected their preparation. And then you think, like, oh, you discredit the entire victory, and then you're back to square one. But then you go on the other end, and you think, like, ooh, Tom Brady, like he looked good last week. But they were trailing by 14 points twice. They didn't really have a good game plan other than
but then they won.
Abandon the run.
But then they won. That's how amazing this is. You're arguing against yourself. They're down by 14 points twice.
I'm not arguing anything.
They won. You're getting to a Colts pick. I know you are. But
yeah,
they were down by 14 points twice and they won. How is
patience? Let me tie this together. And then you think like Brady, he's old. He's like 38. It's cold out. That's not good. He probably has like arthritis or something. And then so then you're back to square one. Both teams are like in my mind. I'm not a fan of either. Like they seem like garbage. Now who's gonna win?
They seem like garbage.
It's back down to good old-fashioned pure random chance. And the one thing that like stands out in my mind above all other is this is the year for Andrew Luck. Everything else is thrown out the window. I will make my pick based on Andrew Luck and nothing else. No logic, no like past performance, like no home road playoff experience, no like previous matchups. This is Andrew Luck's time. They couldn't make the spread high enough. I'm picking him.
I came in here fully prepared to pick the opposite picks of Seth just so I could catch up with him because that's the only way I can do it. But I can't.
so
I can't just pick against the Patriots. I can't do it. I
It's
can't
so
do
hard.
it.
The only thing I will say is you guys love this and I hate it, but I mean just look at what the Patriots have done the last couple years and what their motive have been, and it's pretty much get to the AFC Championship and then lose. Like I mean,
Well,
I think it was like
They've
3
lost the
years
last
ago
two
they were-
AFC title games, and they looked flat in those games.
But they-
One at
but they-
home, they got crunched. One on the road, they got crunched.
they were in the Super Bowl 4 years ago. That's not. I mean,
Well, that was the last time they won, and they won that one because of a missed 20-yard field goal.
Yeah, by
I
Tucker.
thought they,
Cundiff, that was the Cundiff game.
Kind of.
no, I thought they lost in 2000. They lost the Super Bowl in 2010.
Yeah, but they got there because of
Yeah,
that.
championship.
Oh yeah. Oh,
So-
well, it's always something.
And I mean, if you do look through, like a lot of these Super Bowl champions they've just got hot at the right time. They don't come in as the favorite. They're a young team, a talented team. That's what you could describe Indy as, not necessarily New England. And they could knock off Goliath, but I just don't think. If you're smart and you're a betting person, you're not going to pick them. So.
I mean, if you well, it's
Sorry, Mark.
Kinda,
Yeah, if you're an incompetent fool,
If
it's
luck
incredible. Like,
if luck does do it though, I mean, you got to look. And do you put this postseason performance up against Flacco's from 2 years ago? I mean, if he does pull it off, he's essentially, with the exception of Andy Dalton in round one, he's run through the gamut, like the gauntlet of legendary quarterbacks that are still playing right now.
Yeah.
it's good. I don't know. Like, his numbers won't look as good. It depends on what happens in the Super Bowl, but
They
I
won't.
don't know.
How's he done? Are you sure?
Like, they're not, like, the numbers aren't popping off the page. Like, Flacco was invincible. Like, he had 12 touchdowns and no interceptions. Like, his stat line was spotless.
Every QB has played really well in the playoffs so far, except for Cam Newton.
And Luck's played well. Like,
Kind
his
of.
stats aren't eye-bulgingly impressive though. Like, they're not gonna point to them and say oh, in Denver he had two touchdowns and 2 interceptions for 300 yards.
Roethlisberger didn't play too good.
Oh yeah, I guess not.
57 attempts and 300 yards and 2 picks.
But what this game comes down to is I'm just taking the quarterback I think is better, and the quarterback I think is going to play better on Sunday.
Fair enough.
I
The
know
one
Brady
thing-
played well last week, but he has weaknesses. Like, he can be had.
Yeah, and
the
the thing to go ahead, you finish.
I was gonna say, you saw Luck, how he handled the pass, how effortless he made it look. He's not super mobile, but he has that Manning vision where he just kind of scoots up a little bit and chucks it 30 yards downfield. And he has a good arm.
The Ducks. The thing to consider, to your point, Mark, about the quarterback matchup, who's better, not directly related to the two individuals, but Brady's line shuffling around a little bit this week with his center going down in that game last Sunday, and the offensive line was a huge problem for them. And this line that they've been playing with was the fix. This is what fixed that offensive line problem for them. And with that shuffling around again, there's some question there. Does that affect Brady at all? What kind of protections is he going to have? So it's not enough to change my pick, but it's something to keep an eye on. Cool. Crickets. Nothing. That it?
I've said it all.
That is all. So we've got one Colts Packers matchup picked, and 3 Seahawks Patriots matchups picked.
Colts
what?
Packers matchup is the worst possible Super Bowl I could think of out of
That's
all
a good
this.
Super Bowl though.
know.
The
What is
floor
it?
is high.
Colts Packers.
Oh, dude, I'd love to see that, man. Could you imagine there's going to be 60 points scored on both sides?
It'll be a good. I think any of them are good, to be honest. Because if you get Colts and Seahawks, you're getting Luck and Wilson, and just the Luck going up against the Seahawks D. That's an incredible storyline.
Any combination of the quarterbacks is good because you have
they're
all
all
good
fantastic.
quarterbacks. Sure.
So
The Colts just bore me.
this is the one year looking at these Final Four teams for the last few years that it's any of them would be good.
Not New
So.
England. Please, not New England.
I
You
want
know
New
what?
England.
Honestly, Mark, if I didn't hate the New England Patriots so much that I'm picking them to spite them, because now if I'm watching it and they end up losing, and even though I'm wrong, whatever,
You're
I
happy.
want to see them lose. Yeah, I'm right, basically. But I would probably pick Indy because of the momentum of the younger team, of all these other reasons that you kind of mentioned. So
I
Well,
want to
here's the
see
problem
Brady
I
get
have.
his fourth ring. I'd like to see him get his fourth ring.
who?
Brady.
The Super Bowl 39 mean nothing to you.
Means everything to me.
Shut up, Max. Why? Why do you want to see?
Still not over it. 10 years.
He's got
man.
a fourth
10
ring. Her name is Giselle. Okay.
It would be so cool if Brady won his other 2 Super Bowls and he was going for his 6th ring. That would be awesome. It'd be so cool.
Why?
Why?
Because we'd be seeing history. We were
It's not
too
even-
young to see Montana and Young and really appreciate any of that. So it's
No.
cool to see.
And look at them now, like maybe in like
we
20
weren't
years.
around when Bradshaw happened.
Yeah.
Does any other QB?
Manning.
How many does Montana have?
I think it's
4,
5.
5,
He has 4.
4.
5.
No, he has 4.
Was
5.
that what's that commercial with him holding up his ring?
Yeah. I thought
He
they
has
were
5 rings.
No, because Young got the 5th.
Yeah.
Was
Oh, was he a
Montana on the
backup?
team?
No, he wasn't. He was in Kansas
No,
City.
he was gone by then.
Oh.
Well, maybe in 20 years from now, Tom Brady can start hawking Papa John's.
Crazy. All right. Well, I guess we'll have to see next week. We're on a hiatus from playoff picks, and we'll get back to our fantasy football preview, very early draft preview next week, since we got the Pro Bowl to not worry about it all. And then the following week is Super Bowl week, so looking forward to it.
Next
Thanks
week
for-
won't we talk about these games or
No, no coverage, none.
no coverage?
It's all fantasy next week.
You can look elsewhere for your
But
commentary on the games.
how will America know who wins?
They can come back if they want to wait.
They can wait.
They can-
That's how they'll know.
They can wait an extra week, and we start talking about the Super Bowl. We can review these games.
I sold a short. How will the world know who wins? Not just America. We got a global
They never know.
viewership.
We're just gonna hold them. We're gonna hold them captive. Oh well. All right. Well, thanks for making. I'm sure you didn't make it this long with us. So if you did, God bless your soul.